I don't know if I've seen a bigger baptism of fire for a new manager, and that is the Sheffield Wednesday manager, Henrik Pedersen. I think he had absolutely everything thrown at him in that match. He had answers for pretty much everything, but unfortunately Sheffield Wednesday just couldn't prevail and get that point, which would have been a ridiculous and an unbelievable point if they had got it. If you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, if you're a Leicester fan, then do hit subscribe on this channel. We do daily championship content. So if you're a fan of either of those two clubs, then we'll be talking about your clubs a lot over the course of the season. So do hit that subscribe button. And do drop a like as well if you do go on to enjoy the video. Now, I think Sheffield Wednesday have surprised a lot of people with that performance, because obviously we know the situation with what's happening with Chansiri, the ownership. And by the way, I just want to kind of start it off by talking about the occasion, which I think obviously the match is always important. It's a championship fixture. It's the first game of the season. Of course, it's always going to be important, yes. But for Sheffield Wednesday fans especially, it was so much bigger than just a match of football. This was. It was to show, in solidarity with Leicester fans as well, to be fair, that everybody is against Chansiri, and especially, of course, them Sheffield Wednesday fans, where basically before the match, or 5 minutes into the match, Sheffield Wednesday fans started to make their way into the stadium and started to take their seats, because at the start of the game, in the first 5 minutes, they had a banner up and basically no fans in the away end. The away end was basically empty, and Sheffield Wednesday were all making their stance against the ownership, and there was a big banner that basically said Sheffield Wednesday is up for sale, and basically Chansiri, it's time to go, we want Chansiri out. Which, as I say, for Sheffield Wednesday supporters trust, fair play to them, because they set this all up. And I want to say fair play to Leicester as well for cooperating with Sheffield Wednesday and making this happen as well. And as well as that, they also actually flew a plane over the top of the King Power Stadium that also said Chansiri out as well. And as I say, it's really brought a lot of eyes to it. And as I say, of course, it was about the game, but a lot of it as well was about this occasion for Sheffield Wednesday fans. And as I say, I think they've made a really good kind of a stance on the situation with Chansiri. And as I say, fair play to them. And as I say as well, a lot of the Sheffield Wednesday fans missed a big portion of the game, because basically what happened was, it came out in Sky Sports, 1,000 Sheffield Wednesday fans were allowed into the stadium, and because they were all taking their place in the concourse pretty much. You could only have 1,000 people there as a maximum, otherwise there'd be too many people in the concourse and it was deemed not safe. So for safety reasons, they had 2,000 Sheffield Wednesday fans outside of the ground, and obviously couldn't get into the ground until later on in the game, until 5 minutes in, because of course no one was in their actual seats for the first 5 minutes of the match. So they all had to wait outside the ground. A lot of fans, actually, a few fans, ended up missing the chalobah goal because they were still actually outside. Sky Sports showed the kind of celebrations of the Wednesday fans outside of the stadium, all cheering on the team, which, as I say, it's not about them missing the goal or anything like that. That's not the issue. It's obviously Chansiri is the issue, and the stance about it was what it was all about. But Sheffield Wednesday gave a performance that was so to be proud of for the football club, or for the fans, and as I say, the players and the fans all uniting, because you saw when Chalobah scored that goal, really nice goal, by the way. I think Jamal Lowe played a real good part in that. I think really nice footwork to get it out wide to Valerie, who then put it across. Bit of a scrappy goal, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get them. Breaks through to Chalobah. Nice. It was a nice finish. It did take a deflection off. I think it might have been Oliver Skipp, and went into the back of the net, which sparked scenes in the Sheffield Wednesday away end. And it was great to see, to see Chalobah and the Sheffield Wednesday players all run back to the fans to celebrate with the fans, showing that, the players and the fans are so together. And as I say, Sheffield Wednesday in that first half really gave, this surprised a lot of people. Everyone was going to say that Leicester were going to go and batter this side, and it didn't really happen at all. Sheffield Wednesday definitely hold their own in the game. And as I say, I think the starting 11 that they put out actually wasn't a bad starting 11. Of course, we know kind of the way that they were going to set up, with the kind of situation they're in. But I didn't think the starting 11 looked too bad. Obviously, the bench was that was where it really was, obviously, a very weak bench, and that's where you worry about Sheffield Wednesday going forward in terms of how are they going to cope this season, even if they don't get a point deduction, which they might do at some point later down the line, who knows. But are they going to be able to cope with a 46-game season? And already, as I say, when everything got thrown at the new manager, I think he's just got so unlucky with everything going against him. You had, first, the goal score. You got the goal. Sheffield Wednesday setting up really well. I think they started the game really brightly. As I say, for a team that's in this current situation, was very, very impressive. You get the goal scorer, then get what looks to be a hamstring injury. Obviously, we hope it's nothing that, he's not going to be kept out for too long, but you feel like he might be out for a little while, Chalobah, after that. And, for him, on a personal note, scoring a goal, obviously starting the game really positively, it's such a big blow on 33 minutes. When you've got a squad, as I say, with these substitutes as light as Sheffield Wednesday, you can't be affording to get these kind of injuries so early on in the season. You want to be, when you've got a fully fit squad, and you've got these players in the starting 11, which are still, as I say, some decent players in the starting 11 that can definitely compete, as shown. They went, playing very well against a Leicester team which predicts to be right up there come the end of the season, you don't want to be getting injuries like that. And that's what Sheffield Wednesday were so unfortunate to get, because they got that. And then they also got Jan Valery, who went down injured and ended up going off. And that's two players there that, they're going to be very important players over the course of the season if they're fully fit. And Sheffield Wednesday might be losing both in the first game week, which, as I say, for the new manager, it's just such an unlucky situation when you got the squad depth that Wednesday have with the situation. Yeah, it's just not what you want to be having on the first game week of the season. And then if it can't get any worse from there, as I say, Sheffield Wednesday are battling so hard. They're so up for this game. And then to have then your captain, your leader, then go and get a red card. And it's such a disappointing red card as well, because his first yellow card was a dissent. A lot of people saying, I've seen a lot of debate about it on Twitter about, is that a second yellow card? For me personally, I think it is. I think it is a yellow card. No, I think he's got the ball, yes, but he's gone in high, studs up onto kind of the top of the thigh of Harry Winks, it was. And for me, it is a second yellow card. I think he's only really got himself to blame for picking up that initial yellow card for dissent. Obviously, I mean, I was supporting Sheffield Wednesday. I want Sheffield Wednesday to do well. I always love supporting the underdog, but disappointing for Barry Bannan to get a red card there. And of course, then out of the next match as well, with Chalobah out, they're already getting down to the bare bones, and you're one game into the season, which is just, as I say, for the manager, he had so much against him, and they did so well, Wednesday did, to compete, and then you have them kind of situations thrown at you. And for Leicester, like, they kept these players quiet. Fatawu, to be fair, looked really good. Like, he's dribbling so, he's just such a good ball carrier, and he's got so much skill, of course. But at the end of the day, he didn't get any kind of goals, assists. He definitely was a threat for Leicester, but they kept him relatively quiet in terms of actual chances and goal output, and in that game, which was decent. Of course, El Kanou's getting 2 assists. Mavidi kept going very quiet. I think the defence really dealt with Leicester very well in the end. If you just have a look at the stats, Leicester, of course, are going to be in charge of the game. They were dominating the game, of course, because it's Leicester at home and Wednesday are in the situation. Of course, they had to end up parking the bus as well, of course, with the red card as well. But, as I say, Wednesday really did give a lot, and they showed a lot of fight, which, against lesser opposition in the Championship, it'll give an opportunity. But as I say, I'll get on to Wednesday's chances later on in the video. But then, of course, the winner, Wout faes, who comes on off the bench and scores a header. And as well for Wednesday to lose the game in that situation, to be so resolute defensively and not let Leicester through too many times. Of course, Charles is good in goal, but to give Wout faes a free header in the 87th minute is such a disappointing way to lose the game. And as I say, Wednesday gave a valiant attempt at the game, but Leicester's quality shone through, and they are going to be up there come the end of the season. But Leicester have got a lot to improve upon. Of course, it's Martin Cifuentes' first game. He'll learn a lot from the game, and going forward, I'm sure Leicester will be better in terms of performances. But I wasn't all too impressed with all of the newly promoted teams, to be fair. They've all put in kind of subpar performances, even though none of them have lost. But I've not been overly impressed with any of them, to be fair. But as I say, what does this mean for Wednesday going forward now in terms of their chances? Because they're not going to be playing a team every week of the same quality of Leicester City, who of course they've got kind of literally like a championship super team. You look at the three behind the striker in Mavidi, El Kanous, Fatawu, it's just a joke, isn't it? With Ayew as well, he was even taking the piss towards the end with kind of just holding on to the ball for too long, just dribbling for fun pretty much. But against lesser opposition, let's just quickly have a look at Wednesday's fixtures coming up to kind of have a look at what they can do in the future. They've got an EFL Cup game, which God knows what team are going to play in that EFL Cup game, because it's got to be a second team, and they've got to obviously be going all out in the Championship to try and get as many points as they can to stay able to give themselves the best opportunity. Stoke up next, who were pretty impressive in their win against Derby in the first game of the season. At Hillsborough, you feel like they kind of have that togetherness there with the players. Of course, obviously it's gutting that you got injuries now, but they had that kind of togetherness Wednesday did, where you think against lesser opposition at Hillsborough as well, they could cause teams some problems. It's just that case of you just got to think over the course of the season, if you're going to get a couple more injuries like you've already got here, you're looking at a squad that's so thin, it's ridiculous. And as I say, they're going to need to get points early on. They're going to need to pick up points early in the season and kind of have that momentum to try and carry them through and push them through to safety. But for me, I think it's too much of an ask when you look at the situation with the amount of kind of first team players and experienced players they've got. I think it said on their bench was like 20 championship appearances or something on their bench, something like that anyway, or 11 players with championship appearances in their starting squad. It's not ideal, is it, really, going forward? So it's a bit of a disaster situation. I think they did the best that they could, and I think they're going to do the best that they can this season. I think the positive for Sheffield Wednesday is that they showed these players aren't going to be giving up, no matter what the situation is with Chansiri. The players are giving it all on the pitch. That's what Henrik Pedersen was very clear in saying in his interviews. And as well as that, they're going to be trying their best not to let the kind of situation with off-the-field issues affect them. They're going to be working. And of course, they've got injuries as well. Just, I think a lot of the injuries with cramp as well, due to the fact that they've just not really had a proper pre-season with what's been going on at Sheffield Wednesday. Like, it is an absolute disaster. And all we can pray for this season is Sheffield Wednesday. Chansiri goes and Sheffield Wednesday get a new owner. That's all we want for the end of the season. Because I think hopes of Sheffield Wednesday are very much... Well, they're very much non-existent at this point. But as I say, the performance gives them a little bit more confidence. Against lesser opposition, I do think they can definitely give teams a run for their money. Will they get enough points over the course of 46 games? I'm not so sure. But I think a lot of people also said in the way they've spoken about Wednesday, I was kind of surprised when I saw their starting 11. I was like, it's still not a bad team. There's still a lot of players in there that were part of the team that finished 12th last season. There's still quality in that side. But it's just a case of, can they all stay fit? Could they go back into the market? Their embargo has been lifted, but what's the chance in Chansiri kind of actually going in, splashing some cash? Or splashing cash, there's no chance, but getting in even free agents or loans or whatever. I've seen a couple of players linked. I think some Manchester United players have been linked. Maybe Harry and Mass, I think it is, who's been linked. I'm not too sure on that, but that's what I've been seeing. So we'll see if they do bring in a couple of players come the end of the transfer window. I mean, that's a big if at the end of the day. And then they can keep players fit and they can make Hillsborough a fortress and really give everything like they did in that game against Leicester. You can't 100% write this team off. So let me know, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, let me know what you think. I think really, there was a lot of positives to take from that game in my opinion. And as I say, just got to hope for the best going forward. Leicester are a top team in the Championship. They're going to be right up there come the end of the season. Even if they get a points deduction or not, they'll still be up there come the end of the season. And if you're a Wednesday fan, let me know what you think. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel. It takes 1 second. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, it'll be very greatly appreciated. If you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, do it, that subscribe button. Let me know your chances in the comment section down below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.